Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I think we're recording. Yes.
Yep.
So, welcome to the Matthouse. I'm Matt, and this is Wolf. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep. So I'm Lonely Wolf 1980. So my name's also Troy. So I have a small YouTube channel where I do music cover, keyboard music covers, and also mathematics and a couple of like social justice, political type commentary.
Yes. And as if your Twitter bio is correct, you're also a member of the Men's Liberation.
Yeah, kind of.
What's the difference between Men's Liberation and the men's rights activists?
I think men's liberation movement. It's more closely related to feminism. It's friendly towards feminism, like because I sort of have my content is watched because a lot of my subscribers are so it's in there. Whereas MRA is kind of it seems to be more anti-feminist. So that's probably the primary difference. And there's some new gender theory, some feminist theory goes into like men's liberation work. So it goes in this similar direction to feminism goes, but not as toxic as MRA.
So you would call it pretty much the less shitty version of MRA.
Yeah, it's kind of a friendlier. I kind of think of it, in my opinion anyway. It's like a friendlier version of MRA.
So would you say that the MLM is also part of the manosphere?
Um, uh, in some ways, yeah, but I think there are a lot more women. I think a lot more women would watch that sort of content. It's more feminists would tend to watch that content more than they'd watch like other manosphere type things because it's not really opposed to, because I don't really disagree with the ideas of feminism as much as other manosphere type content creators. It's almost like partway between.
It's a
It's hard
synthesis
to.
between feminism and MRA.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix. It's like some of the issues that are addressed by MRA, but it uses also a bit of feminist theory here and there.
Okay. Are there any men's liberation writers that you would like people to know of?
Usually, there's a few Twitter accounts. There's the men's movement, which is it's a good Twitter account that links to a lot of articles and materials, etc. So it deals with mental health. So it's more closely in line with the type of content that I want to look at. Because I think the problem with MR is that I couldn't find any good content to sort of read, like things that might be helpful or useful when it comes to sort of mental health or other issues. Because I go to read some of the materials and it's too much anti-feminism, and there's not really anything that's useful or anything that I felt was empowering. So
Oh
that's
yeah, I remember when I looked for any groups that were also coming up for men's rights. Most of them seems to be more about, oh no, those evil feminists, instead of actually doing something for men.
yeah, that's what I sort of aim to, and it's kind of limited in what it does. So one of the with men's, at least my version anyway, I try to think of a lot of other issues as well. So because I think there's a shortage of discussion on I guess trans men's issues are sort of not represented as much in I don't really see much of that in
But
MRA. So
trans men aren't also really often attacked. They often give an example of trans women as the big scary trans or something.
yeah, I mean, there's some. I mean, there's some MRAs that are that include trans men in the movement, but it's the with the men's liberation when you try to challenge like stereotypes or gender roles, etc. It's because I think trans men and women get affected a lot more by gender roles. So when they transition, so people think, okay, that's so, for example, a trans man, like they may look like a man, but then people expect them to be manly. So if they have any feminine features, they say, "Oh, you're not, you don't want to become a man because you're not, you're too feminine to be a man." So then we'll use the wrong pronouns. So it's there's more pressure for trans people to fit into stereotypes.
Okay, yeah. Enough about the men's liberation movement. You said in your bio, it also says you're non-binary.
Yes, sort of known for some time. Like the word non-binary, when I describe it, it's kind of like not transgender. I don't consider myself transgender, but it's almost like being half transgender. So I've had dysphoria
So
for a while. But
you consider yourself half transgender?
yeah, that's the description I still have sometimes. So I have a certain dysphoria. I think maybe I was in the wrong body, but then it
Can you
doesn't last
please
for.
say it again? Because the audio is kind of messed up.
Oh, the audio.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I found, sometimes I've been dysphoria before, but it wasn't. It was only mild. It wasn't severe enough to have any sort of transition. So it was easy to exist kind of in the middle as a endless
How would
type.
non-binaries actually transition?
Yeah. Sometimes there are people who are somebody who hasn't transitioned in any way, but like there's some people, so you're more female, so if I felt like I was more of a woman and the dysphoria was really strong, I'd want to change the gender, but because the dysphoria isn't strong enough, then I can exist in my body.
Oh yeah, I kind of feel. I feel the same.
Yeah, it's sometimes I think it's a little complicated. The just the number of labels that people put around it's because I think that I mean neutral pronouns. Okay, use masculine pronouns, but if people use gender neutral pronouns, I'm okay with that. Sometimes it's almost like way too many choices for different genders. I don't really agree with like other non-binary. Sometimes I feel like they've got too many. It's a bit confusing, some of the rules that I hear.
Can you repeat that last sentence?
Yeah, sometimes it's confusing the number of labels that the number of genders that I've seen. It's because I find it hard to follow or understand.
Yeah, gender is a spectrum, so I guess a lot of people try to put labels on the whole spectrum.
Yeah, I wish there was maybe like 3 or 4 categories would be easy for me.
Have you ever been called a female pronoun?
No, I just stick with just use my I'd use masculine pronouns.
Mostly he, him, sometimes they, them.
I've never used they them. I think I'm older because I'm 30 years old, and I didn't have be there when I grew up, so I'm used to him, so I don't really change that pronoun.
So you kind of grew used to he, him.
Yeah.
What are your hobbies?
So I so on my YouTube channel I do music covers. So I learned how to play as an adult. So around I don't know, like for about 8 years now. So I just try to do songs and then put them on my YouTube channel. I also do crafts like crochet or knitting.
Needy or nerdy?
So
Sorry?
sorry.
Yeah. The last thing you said didn't really catch up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I also do crochet as a hobby.
Okay, crochet?
Yeah.
Okay, and how long did you realize you were asexual?
Really, there was a long time ago, and it wasn't really discussed when I was growing up. So I knew that I knew that I wasn't attracted to men or women sexually, but I didn't know what it was. So I think in the 2000s, there was I heard that asexual, and I thought, okay, that's me then. So I've always known, but the word wasn't used when I was growing up.
Which version of asexual are you? Are you gray or more black?
It's called Ace of Spades. So it just means like so it would be not I'd probably say like, and then also not romantic or aromantic.
So asexual and aromantic?
Yes,
So you're a full ace.
full ace. Yeah.
Politics.
Oh yeah. So politics. So I am on the left. Like I have a lot of friends who are right wing, like S-Man and a few people on Poor Bastards. But personally, I'm very left wing, so I'm probably a social democrat.
Yeah. Social Democrats, as in the Bernie Sanders kind, or
You'd say I'm a fan of Bernie Sanders, and at the moment I'm a big fan of the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
the Democratic Socialist?
Yeah, yeah. So Ocasio-Cortez is currently my favorite politician at the moment.
Any reason why?
Uh, um, so I think I prefer Ocasio-Cortez because she's very much, sort of very between. But she's kind of fights against the Democrat establishment. For example, Hillary Clinton and the establishment Democrats that are they're far too in the centre for me, whereas Ocasio-Cortez is more to the left, and I'm critical of free market, like libertarian free market capitalism. I'm critical of that.
But not critical enough that you say you don't support capitalism at all.
only very limited, sort of very limited capitalism. So, because it needs to be, the market's not good enough. Because capitalism is regulated high for when it doesn't work. So, like for example, like so, higher taxation on corporate entities and stuff like that.
How would you define not work?
How do I define?
How do you define if capitalism doesn't work?
So it doesn't work when there's too much of a wealth disparity. So and there's a high concentration of like millionaires, and then a vast majority of people who are sort of poor working class, and so and then when the standard of living for a lot of people it's way too low. So where people have to struggle to have proper healthcare, education, etc. That's when the free market doesn't work very well.
What you call Australia a social democratic country?
No, it's very Australia's very centrist because there's two the Liberal Party, so the two major parties, the Liberal Party and the Labor Party. So Labor Party is a little bit left of centre, and the Liberal Party is kind of a little right of centre. But at the moment, there's a big problem in Parliament. The Prime Minister is there's a leadership challenge, so they're trying to kick the Prime Minister, and the one who's trying to take his position is he's far more right wing.
Would you say that Australian Labour is comparable to the Thatcherite time when the UK Labour was more centrist?
A little bit, yeah. It's very centrist. In Australia, a lot of people vote. They don't vote for the party; they'll vote for the Prime Minister. Whereas in America, it seems like a lot of people are, Democrats. So it's not, people are not as likely to change from Democrat to Republican. They do, but not as much. But in Australia, it depends on who the politician is at the time. Sometimes the Liberal can be good, and sometimes Labor can do if they've got a strong Prime Minister.
Who's your favourite Australian politician?
I don't know. I don't like any of them. I'd say Julia Gillard was. So she was a Labor politician in 2008 onwards. So she invested a lot of money in education, and a lot of money invested in education, and it was a high level of environmental protectionism under her, so probably her. She was good.
Okay. Your opinion on interventionism?
I think I'm not a fan of interventionism, because I think there's too much money spent on the military budget. It needs to be cut down, and more money spent towards hospitals or education.
So you're not like Hawk?
No, I'm not. Is he interventionist? Is he?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not into intervention.
And do you believe that we should put more money? No. Do you believe in a progressive tax rate should be higher or lower?
I think it should be higher, because Australia's tax system, we have a GST tax. That tax is more regressive than it is progressive.
Regressive, so what? The poor pay more than the rich?
That's a little bit, yeah. In simple terms, that's what regressive is. I think progressive is where it's not so the burden's not so much on the lower class. So I think that corporations need to pay a lot more strict controls for corporations and probably wealthy the class as well.
Yeah. If you're a little bit knowledgeable about Dutch politics, we now have a political coalition which doesn't follow any manifesto in which they are planning to end the dividend tax. And
Yeah.
yeah, do you think something like that could also happen in Australia? Where
It possibly could, because sometimes Australia, because Australia copies America sometimes. So, for example, the education system, because national testing and standardized testing is like a big thing in Australia, and it's because they did it in America as well, and it was a bad idea. Like, I wish that Australia, we made better decisions, like we followed other countries, maybe like Scandinavian countries, where we could find better models for education, etc.
do you think lobbying is a problem in Australia?
Do I think what is lobbying?
When rich corporations pretty much hire people to advise the governments that they shouldn't do something which will benefit the poor, for example?
It's a little bit, but think I think the public is also good at pushing back. So, for example, if there's a the big Walmart. So in the really small towns in Australia, they do a good protesting corporations. So they massive shopping mall in there, and it damages the smaller businesses. They protest and they do a good job, and they've been successful at protesting that.
Okay.
Then Australia also, so there are problems also with race as well in Australia. Heard stories of I know there's college students, dressing in blackface, and this is really offensive sort of costumes.
Are you talking about Australia or the Dutch right now?
Yes, in Australia.
Because the Dutch also have a tradition where every December they have a group of people coming with Santa Claus. No, his Dutch name is Santa Claus, and he has a lot of people dressed in black. You would almost say it's blackface. It's called Black Pete or Zwarte Piet in Dutch.
Okay. Yeah, some countries, I think in Ireland, it's different. A cultural thing, like it's different altogether. But in Australia, there are Halloween parties. It's like those, so that they dress up like or as Jews or anything just to deliberately offend.
Just to offend people?
Just to offend people, yes.
So
yeah, I don't know.
That's pretty much the meme the left makes of them, right? That they would eat their own shit if they thought it would trigger the lips.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a big. I hear it a lot in Australia. They say triggering the Liberals, like triggering the left, and so they're very deliberate in that. And I think they can get away with that because it's offensive to like offending African Americans. So it's offending America. Like if they tried the same thing in America, they'd probably be in a lot more trouble. Whereas they can get away with it here because like in America, they probably but if they wore the costumes like they wore the costume.
Okay, and are those kinds of people also part of a particular group of people who tend to do that?
No, they're not political. They're not political. They're just very immature people who deliberately they just deliberately want to provoke and just hurt others. So that's true. They're not serious about anything. They're just there to provoke.
Yeah, I heard about a place which said the same, and yeah, look at it, 4chan and stuff.
Yes.
Didn't they also start saying it was ironic?
Yeah, they do that. And then they deliberately wear the hat, like "Make America Great" hat again. To what do they say? Trigger the liberals.
Doesn't that not make sense in Australia, since liberals there are more right-wing than...
Yeah, I can understand either. I think it's because they talk about American, because they both liberals do
Why
meanings.
would
One is like,
American liberals be offended by something they do in Australia?
yeah, because liberal has two meanings in Australia. So liberal is I think liberal is like social justice, SJW, but then the other meaning liberal as in Liberal Party. Well, I think the Liberal Party has a capital level, and the social justice, progressive. That's the liberal with the lowercase L. So there's two different meanings of liberal. So I think they say trigger the left, or they say trigger the snowflakes, or whatever. So I hear that a lot.
Yeah, do some people also try to trigger you in some way because you are Ace and an NB and a wolf furry?
No, they don't. They don't back because in my social life, like a lot of my friends are right wing, and they don't really like feminism, or they're not like badly anti-feminist, but they're just not right wing. So I'm sort of used to having like being questioned, and I'm used to hearing like opinions that disagree with mine. So they don't quite offend me because they know that I'm not I don't get angry or upset.
Okay. Are there any TV shows or any shows you watch?
I do watch, Orange is in Black.
You mean that one show which is pretty considered basic or something?
Yeah, so just Australian show that I watch is called Wentworth. It's set in a like women prison.
Yeah.
It's a prison drama show. So that's my favourite show. So it's in Australia, but it's on Netflix for other countries. And what else do I watch? So, yeah, I enjoy. That's my main one. Dramas, and I also watch. I'm trying to think. Do I watch? I watch a lot of soap operas, like so American daytime soap operas.
Yeah. Video games?
No, I don't understand. I don't know how to play video games. I played them in the '90s, so I like retro gaming a little bit. But I don't really play current games.
Okay. Which is the last video game you remember playing?
Probably Sonic the Hedgehog.
The original?
The original Sonic, yes. I think there's 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
So I played I bit on emulator. So I downloaded on my computer. So it's really fun to play that, and so it brings back memories of my teenage years.
You heard it here, cops.
Sorry.
I just said you heard it here, cops, as a joke.
And
And
that's
music. What is your favorite genre of music exactly?
I think I listen to every genre, but I don't really like. I'm not a fan of. I don't listen to that very much. I probably enjoy listening to club sort of music. So I listen to dance hall, which is a fusion of it's like African tribal music mixed with electronic dance. So that's the sort of genre that electronic.
That's a strange.
And I also enjoy acoustic music. So if it's like country
classic?
music or sorry,
did you say acoustic or classic?
Oh, acoustic. So I listen to. So I sometimes go to festivals. So maybe country music. I listen to that a little bit. So acoustic country, and I'll also listen to jazz that has a bit of acoustic to it as well. So something that's gentle, and usually I enjoy a good harmony as well.
What motivated you to actually play music?
So yeah, so I play music for my channel, but it's so I play a number of eras. So I just choose a number of songs. So it's mainly I just play the keyboard itself. So I'm not really a very skilled piano player because I started when I was old. So I'm a little slower, and it takes me long to learn a new song.
You didn't say what motivated you though.
Oh, okay. I remember hearing. I think I was watching anime. I don't watch a lot of anime, but I was watching one anime, and I remember I heard the background piano music scores, and I saw YouTube videos of people playing. I was very inspired, and I thought it was this beautiful music, and I wish I could play like that. But then I thought, well, maybe I should try and learn how to do it because I'm not going to. Yes, I always avoid it because when I see other people that really talented, that sort of inspires me to sort of create music that will hopefully move other people.
Okay, and now something different, completely different. Do you believe all nations have the right to nuclear arms?
Yeah, they have. That's difficult. Because there's rights and there's responsibilities. So they've got the right to nuclear arms. They also have the responsibility. So I don't think that President Trump has control over any buttons because he can't control his Twitter account. So he can't even control his fingers. So I don't trust his finger on a button that could have clear warfare. So it's right, but also it's a responsibility to not be stupid.
Oh, please wait a second, it's raining. I'm going to close the window.
Yep.
Oh, that's softened it a little bit. So, what were you saying? You didn't trust the Trump with nuclear arms. So please continue.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't trust. I don't Trump to use his computer to use Twitter. I don't trust him on Twitter, so I don't trust him with a nuclear weapon either.
Yeah, I bet US is pretty much the only nation with what, more than 100 nukes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think Trump would be banned from Twitter. Or maybe his advisors should tell him to, or let somebody else do his tweets. Like he should be allowed on Twitter. He's just, he doesn't know how to use it properly.
Yeah. Do you believe that Trump is proto-fascist?
I'm very nervous. I use that word very cautiously.
Okay, let me.
I do think he's really insensitive. I believe he's uneducated, and I believe that some people on the alt right would like him, but yeah, no, I don't think he's not enough to be labelled as fascist himself.
So at most he's an useful idiot, or someone who sells himself to fascist.
I think he's a useful idiot.
What makes you think he's an idiot instead of someone who sells himself to fascist?
Yeah, I don't think he's really smart enough to sort of have an agenda saying, like a fascist agenda. I think at worst, because sometimes capitalism ties with fascism a little bit. So I think because of he's got a very poor taxation policy. So that does damage to a lot of marginalized people. So I think he's probably the closest out of all the presidents. He's probably closest to being like alt-right or fascist.
For
just
now?
with some of his. So yeah, compared to the other politicians. But then I think Mike Pence is even worse.
You believe Mike Pence is closer to a fascist, or just that he's worse?
I think he's worse than Trump. He's got attitude towards gay people that are really that are almost fascist.
When would you actually consider calling a president fascist exactly?
That's that's difficult for me to say. Because I think, okay, if somebody was, if they start advocating for nationalism, so if they start speaking like Richard Spencer or any hint towards white nationalism, like explicitly, like that's when we consider them fascist. But
Isn't Trump really nationalist?
yeah, I'm not sure whether he's enough in the direction of white nationalism. So the idea of creating an ethno state, it's very hard because he's not going to be obvious. He's not going to tell everyone, I want an ethno state for everyone. That's too obvious. So maybe he's doing it in a very he's more secretive. So maybe he is. So he could have like alt right, like far right tendencies because of the I guess immigration and like, separation of children, etc. So I say maybe he could be close to fascism.
Okay, and what's your opinion on Obama? Because for whatever reason, when you ask of Trump, you have to ask about Obama.
I think his first term was he was successful in his first term. I think in the second term it was more towards the end of Obama, and then because the Democrat Party was too corrupt per se. I think he's far too establishment my liking, and I disagree with the gun stances. Even Ocasio-Cortez, I disagree with her on the gun stances because I think like the left, like we should be for pro-gun. So we should be protecting minorities. Or minorities should be able to protect themselves because with gun laws, it just puts guns in the hands of the bourgeois, the upper
So,
class.
yeah, or the fascists, or those who are pro-guns who have the need to vote for fascists because they are the only ones who seem to want to actually keep the guns.
Exactly. I think that like trans people should be trained, but they should have guns. Like any minority group or any working class person should be able to have a gun to protect themselves.
Yeah, but the question is how far do guns go when the military is set on controlling the public?
Oh, mills like in place.
What?
Yeah, it's hard to know. Yeah, it's hard though. I think people are limited in the type of guns that can be the guns that can be sold. Um,
Okay,
I don't
but
really know because Australia is so strict on guns that it's hard to imagine being in America.
yeah, but however, yeah, the far left tends to agree with your point on guns. So am I, even. Yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
pro-gun. I'm really sad that this nation I'm in isn't pro-gun. So I have to try to achieve it by going into politics and hope that I have a party big enough that I actually can allow guns for self-protection.
Yeah, because that's with America, like America's politics, because liberals are like they try to be progressive, but see, I don't like liberalism. I hate liberals because um, they're progressive sometimes, but being like anti-gun is not a good. It's not a good idea to protect minorities. And yeah, also also liberals, they like a lot of the bad things on the left are liberal. They're very bad. Like liberals are very bad at identity politics because identity politics is okay, but when it's used incorrectly, used very badly by liberals, that's when that's when it loses touch. It loses touch with the working class.
When would you say that a bull is used badly?
I think, for example, the Democrat Party, so Hillary Clinton used it very badly
Oh yeah,
to
vote
sort
for
of
a
divide
woman,
people.
vote for Clinton.
Yeah, so vote for Clinton, like I'm with her. Vote for me because vagina, because I'm a woman. And I think identity politics is used badly in so liberal publications like so MTV, BuzzFeed, Everyday Feminism. So it uses it because identity politics is so complicated. Like it's useful, but it's very complicated
I
and
think
nuanced.
it's. I would almost say that it's pretty much the point of the bourgeoisie to ruin identity politics so much that either the people who are pro Itbull are so messed up that they can't get the people behind them, or people are so afraid of Itbull that they are going to ignore it in most cases, even when it's valid.
Yeah, yeah, because it's. I mean, of course, identity politics. It's important if it's studied with if it's studied really carefully, if it's done with nuance and it's done well.
Would you
But
consider Black Lives Matter liberal?
um, I'd say it's further left because it's probably for pro guns and pro military action against corrupt corrupt police practices. And I agree with the aims of Black Lives Matter, saying it's like reform of the police. There's sometimes people who are the radicals who are attached to the group, but have their own agenda, so it strays away from the original aim. Like any group, because you get people who join the movement, but it's but they have their own aims or their own agendas, and it strays away from what it originally was.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
I guess the good thing is it can raise other issues about black people, but then the bad thing is that you lose focus. So the public the public forgets what the aim of the group is and what the policy reforms are.
About black people, do you agree with MLK about the white moderates?
So what's the white moderates?
MLK gave pretty much a speech about that white moderates are, aka the people who claim to be for change but are moderate about it, tend to fight for racism more because they keep trying to maintain the status quo. They want slow change, change that may never happen. They keep saying wait, 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 but most black people and others tend to think that the wait is indefinitely and that's never going to happen.
Yes, I think it depends on the issue whether we move slowly in progressive steps or whether we act or whether the change is a lot more urgent. So I think when it comes to police activity, the change needs to be very much more quicker. So for transgender rights, so for example, there's violence, etc. So when it comes to trans men, trans women, those protections, that's a matter of urgency. Then myself, being non-binary, sort of the middle, I think that has to come after the transgender rights. So I think I'm okay to wait a bit longer for like non-binary to be recognised. Um, so I think that some things can wait a little bit, but some things are more urgent.
Yeah, it's important to have priorities.
Yeah, yeah. So with LGBT things, I think the safety of trans people is kind of the first thing, and then people like me who are in the middle, kind of middle ground, like non-binary or something like that, and pronouns that might not like
Matter that
it'll be
much?
a very slow change.
Yeah, very slow change.
Yeah, because I think the public don't even know. I mean, because I don't talk about it because my parents are a little bit conservative, so they wouldn't. It's too complex for them to.
A little bit conservative.
Yeah, it's also the idea is complex as well. They don't understand because they heard on the television they hear the news and you know my dad asked me like why is there gender neutral pronouns, and I tried to explain the concept of like non-binary, and he said, well, aren't there just two, you know, man and woman? So younger generations might understand, like they know what it is and they have strong opinions, whereas like my father, he doesn't really know enough to have a strong opinion. Well, I think he's just confused.
I mean, you don't really need to know anything to have a strong opinion.
No, but I think my dad is not. He'd rather know everything before he has a strong opinion. But unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, people. So like with younger people or anyone, like there are some people that or trolls or you know anti SJW that they do have strong opinions even if they don't know what it is.
Anti-SJW seems to be more contrarian than actually having an opinion.
Yeah, it's because when it comes to some issues, like especially gender or you know non-binary and things like that, it's more complicated because I don't really understand the science behind it. Like I don't understand the biology, but it's but I think it's natural for humans to have like gender confusion or non-binary or androgyny. I think it's a natural trait in humans because you know in history and in so many cultures, you know they've got that sort of thing happening, like Native American Indians and Indonesia, and it goes back a long
Yeah,
way, and it's also
some
across the
people
world. So
have
it's
three genders, right?
yeah, yeah. So I think it's like maybe it's a natural tendency in humans for this sort of thing to happen, and it's only recently we're talking about it in Western culture.
Would you say it's recently rediscovered?
Yeah, well, it's recently being discussed, so that's why there's. I think that's why people are arguing so much because it's we're discussing it a lot more now in Western culture, whereas you know it's for thousands of years in cultures it's existed.
Yeah, about Western culture. Do you believe the West is too imperialist in some way?
I think it is. It is, especially with the in the Middle East, the politics. There's more. It's probably driven by. I mean, it's probably driven by economics. So, for example, like oil and mineral exploration. So some of it's to do with greed.
Yeah. And about the Middle East, what's your view on Israel and Palestine?
To be honest, I don't really have enough facts to make a strong opinion. So I
Okay.
don't think I'm educated enough. I think because I think Israel. I mean, I know that Israel's done some appalling things to Palestine. I don't know enough about it.
Okay. Do you support the two-state solution, the one-state solution?
That's a difficult one because I can see both sides of that difficult situation. To sort of, I mean, like one state would be it would be good to be so many problems, like so many instability in that. It's really hard to. It's hard for me to say.
Okay. Is there anything in global politics that you have a strong opinion about?
Well, global, climate change is very much a global issue.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously there should be protections or cleaner, like better energy alternatives. And that's it's a good issue because because each country is going to contribute to that footprint.
Do you believe the Paris deal is enough to halt global warming?
It's the problem is when the countries who withdraw from the agreement or they then follow the agreement. Like it's a good start for everyone to join in that movement. But then there's sometimes there's considered countries have different needs or they have different levels of development. So there were some good ideas before about like carbon, like the trading of credits, like from some countries to others. When if they go under the country who might go over.
What far left ideology are you most sympathetic to?
Far left ideology,
Most
like social democrat.
more left than social democrats.
Yeah, so I get confused when I say democratic socialist or democrat. It's a movement so that's more aligned with Bernie Sanders and Ocasio Cortez. So that type of a position on the left I'm probably most sympathetic to.
Okay. And any what do you believe that capitalism would help the world solve global warming?
Um, I think the free market capitalism, like libertarianism or ANCAP policies, are devastating on global warming. Because we need a lot of market regulation because the profit is not an incentive to reduce environmental damage because like the profit motive itself that encourages us to act against the acting against the best interests of the planet. So obviously it's going to require like the market economy itself won't work. That's the failure of capitalism. So it would have to be like with the very strict regulations to achieve, I guess, a better environmental policy.
How should we deal with fascists?
I think firstly, like the first thing is we have to identify, like, have a clear definition in our minds of what is fascism and what isn't. I think it's very dangerous to use that word too often for a lot of people because I see it a lot I see a lot of liberals use that the word fascist for a lot of people, and it doesn't really, even for people who are like just conservative or they might be liberal or classical liberal, etc. I've seen them called fascist, and if we use that word too often, I think the public, the public will become very lazy when it comes to addressing fascism. So obviously, like a media coverage of the imagery. So if you see someone with a Nazi symbol or whatever, I mean, groups of people with Nazi symbols or whatever. So the obvious fascists, like, put them all over social media and have that imagery so that people know that there is a problem, that there are people out there that are extremely dangerous. And as for punching a fascist, as long as they are very, very far, as long as they are posing a threat, they have to be dangerous people before they get punched.
How do you define dangerous?
So if they're gathering, if they're calling for violence against minorities or people like that,
you mean like
any type of,
when they screamed Jews will not replace us?
yes, so anything that seems to be a call to action for violence or a call to action for
Saving
sort of
the right race?
ethno state. Yeah, so call to action for anything like ethno state, white nationalism, or sort of violence against minorities, like that.
Yeah.
That's what I consider dangerous.
Do you believe cops have, for whatever reason, have been more sympathetic to fascists?
It seems that way. It's hard to know because it depends on it depends on the news source where it comes from. So
But on
obviously,
average,
Fox News will be would side against the Antifa.
yeah.
I think the police. Yeah, I think the police need to focus on fascists, a lot more. Like have a stronger presence and a more threatening presence.
Do you understand or even somewhat support ACAB?
ACAB.
Yes, all cops are bastards.
It's hard to know because I don't live in America. So America's where it's very, very bad. It's just because of where I live, like in Australia, and I've also lived in communities in Australia where the role of police are a little bit different. So
How are cops
So
in
I've
Australia?
Yeah, so in Australia, it depends where it is. So if it's in a small town, so there's a lot of Indigenous people in the town as well, and so there's there are much better relations. So the police have a different job. Like, obviously, they have to deal with domestic disputes. So they try to keep things safe, but they also reach out to the community as well. So they work a lot with schools and. So I think they're all important. So the ambulance, the police, like everybody's important in the community. So in an environment where there's a better sense of community, it's hard to say, so all cops are bad. But if you lived in a city, or in America where there's racial profiling, etc., it'd be easier to sympathize with that movement. I keep thinking, I'm so glad that I'm not American.
Yeah, me too. If I were American, I'd be dead a few weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, I'd be scared to live there. I mean, Australia has problems, but it's yeah, not as bad as not as bad as America.
Uh, is there any reason why you'd be afraid of cops?
Um, I wouldn't be scared of cops. I think because sometimes I've got brown skin, so my skin is a bit darker. Because I have like Hispanic type of background. If I'm in the sun for a long time, I turn brown, and if I like grow my beard out, I look Middle Eastern, like I look like a Muslim. So I'm kind of scared of. I'm
But
a bit
Muslim
scared of.
isn't a race. You can like Muslim.
Yeah, and I'm kind of scared of airports or airport security. If I look like especially if I haven't shaven my beard. So if I haven't shaved and I've been in the sun too long, my skin goes very dark. So I look Middle Eastern, and so that's why I'm a little bit scared to walk through airport security.
Uh, do you often have to be there to double check your ID card?
Yes, yes. I always get the the detectors for explosives and double checking ID, etc. I don't
And
know. Maybe it's just me. Like maybe they do that to all people. I'm not sure.
no,
But
they don't do that to all people.
yeah, like I'm scared of flying anyway, so I don't fly very much.
Yeah, I try to fly less because, for whatever reason, kerosene isn't seen as something that should be taxed here.
Oh, okay. So what country do you live in?
The Netherlands.
Oh, okay.
That's why
Yeah.
talk about the Dutch a little.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's yeah, much easier than living in America. Even the UK is a little bit unhappy these days.
Yeah, Brexit, a bit of a more surge of right-wing attacks, and of course the fact that they know that the Scottish and Irish voted
Yeah.
against Brexit while most of Britain voted for it.
Oh, okay. Yes. So so how long have you been on the? I'm sorry, I'm asking questions to you now. That's rude.
No problem. I always
Um.
allow my guests to ask questions.
So how long have you? So what groups are you in? So what is it called? The Poor Bastards and
I was part of it, but I was thrown out because apparently I was, and I quote, a bitch.
oh, okay. It's yeah, I'm in there. Because my history is so I've been friends with Owen McDonald's for the longest,
Yeah?
and then so I've talked to him. And I was friends with him, and then from Owen I met S Man, and so I'm very close to them. And then after S Man, I met a few other people that I like very much,
Yes,
and then
and how is this
I
the
met
question?
yeah, and then Lapis, or Effeminate Degenerate.
Yeah.
She's my other favorites. Like some there that I like, but some just too much. There are
Shit?
too many arguments, and it's yeah. Some of the it's been going on for a long time since began. Like before Owen, like before me, there were other people in there that are gone now, but there was a lot of fighting in that group.
Yes, I know.
It's I don't know. It's a bit nicer to be in like the group, like the Lapis, like her inbox, because people are can be a bit nicer.
Yeah, I know.
I
So
mean, even if we disagree, like we're not going to be really. Oh, we're all left, but we'll disagree. There will be. Well, we will probably disagree on things, but we won't be rude about it.
yeah. So any more questions?
Not really. So how did you come to? So who did you know? So how did you come to join the Poor Bastards or the other chats?
Uh, Hawk. He he had his own chats. Owen McDonald, I also knew him. He also was in the chat, and we're talking about how the Poor Bastard was kind of shit, or at least, and I wanted to see it with my own eyes. So they had a poll, and I ended up winning.
Okay, yeah. It's like there's a lot of people there that I do like, but it only takes one or two people
Turn it to shit.
to argue too much.
Yeah.
But even there's some people there. I mean, who are a little bit right wing, like S-Man. He's a little bit right wing, but he still
How are
is.
how is he a little bit right wing? He's full on libertarian, right?
I don't know because it's hard to know. He seems very centrist because some of his political beliefs are very progressive. Because he's got some people that call him an SJW because
He doesn't hate minorities.
yeah, because he was very angry at someone. There was this other YouTuber called Gemini who was really rude towards Lapis and asked some really rude questions. And S-Man, yeah, he gets really angry when certain people, like trans people or whatever, are sort of attacked online. So they say, "Oh, you're a social justice warrior. You're an SJW." Like some of the there's some people who call him that. And so yeah, he's in that way he's probably centrist because sometimes he's left and sometimes he's a little bit right as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but he's someone who changes his mind. He's capable because he is quite smart. So he's someone who will probably move around quite a bit. Like he's not stuck in his opinion, saying this is what it is. There's a few opinions here and there that if he's convinced and if he's done the research and he thinks, okay, maybe I might not agree any longer, he's willing to sort of change his position on a number of things.
Yeah, he's one of the most mature teens I know.
Yeah, that's the like the maturity is an important part of having a good political leaning, I guess. Being able to speak well on those topics is having the maturity, whereas it's kind of sad because there's some like adults that are like my age or older that misbehave on those on YouTube.
Yeah, and some of them even get millions of subscribers.
Yes, because my other another good friend of mine, Chairview, he has muscular dystrophy and is in a wheelchair, and he's been on those shows like Cunstream and Internet Blood Sports, and they were very
Blood sports?
Yeah, the Internet Blood Sports.
Oh yeah, I remember. Wasn't the guy who framed that Conant frame set himself on fire?
Yeah, that was Andy Warski. Yeah, that was kind of sad.
Yeah, when you play with alt-rights, you're going to burn yourself one way or another.
Yeah.
He took it a little bit too literally, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just like a destruction of those channels. I think that my explanation behind that is I think it's a mental breakdown of some sort, because I think that they started it in the anti-SJW, anti-feminist community, and because they were reacting to the very weak arguments or the low-hanging fruit.
Or the straw man or the people
Yeah,
who
yeah,
aren't even really representative of feminism because
yeah.
they're strangers.
Yeah, and it's some of the actual feminists, like the stronger ones, with the more they've got kind of a more nuanced opinion. Some feminists and like they admit they say, like, I don't really like Anita Sarkeesian either, or like I don't agree with BuzzFeed or whatever, and
Yeah, I
so
also
that
don't agree with BuzzFeed. I think they're more of a company trying to sell themselves to feminists.
yeah, that's the sad part. I think that these people, these anti SJWs, is they've watched so much of it. So they've watched every single Sarkeesian video to make a critique. Then they've read all this. They've read all BuzzFeed, and they've read all of this rubbish, and so they've filled their head with stuff. And I think it's made them go a little crazy in the head. So they've had a mental breakdown where the feminists are a bit stronger. They probably don't read that stuff. So
I think they,
they,
if anything, they probably read sources of those claims that in article.
yeah, I think they probably
And if they don't,
it's,
they're probably going to be more busy with activism instead of reading feminist books.
yeah, because I know, because I'm not really a feminist myself, but I know that I do have friends of mine who are in that feminist, and they do this sort of activism, and I know some of them who do, like, they work in homeless, like, shelters, etc., and they don't actually know any of the terminology. Like, they don't know what manspreading is, or the word like mansplaining, or they've never even heard of Sarkeesian. So that's kind of the straw man that it's a very bad straw man to assume that, oh yes, they're BuzzFeed or Tumblr.
I mean, even Tumblr was at least trying to be kind to people.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I'd rather have people try to be nice instead of people being dickheads. But that's just me.
yeah. I prefer that as well.
And
Ugh.
were you always left wing or?
I think I always, yeah, I think I always have been. I mean, I was sort of lucky that I think just the education that I had, I was glad to be educated, and so I studied a lot of social science. In my major is in mathematics, so I've trained as a mathematics teacher, but I also took a lot of social science in high school as well. So I kind of understood. I learned a lot of things about racism and cultural studies, etc., and so it gives you a better opinion to have a more progressive viewpoint. And then there's some, like, sometimes it has changed. Like, sometimes I've been centrist, but mostly my whole life I've been left rather than right. But maybe over the recent years I've moved, economically at least, I've moved further to the left than I was.
Would you consider yourself a leftist?
Yes, because I don't, because liberal is too in the middle for me.
Yeah.
So I consider myself left of being liberal.
Okay.
Whereas yeah, I think I've gone further to the left now than I ever was. Probably because the things have changed. Probably because the alt right is there on the other side. So maybe it's like I sort of I'm a bit scared of those sort of people, and sometimes TERFs as well. I'm kind of scared of them as well. So that kind of makes me want to run, like, further to the left.
In other words, you turn more left because other people are more right.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe because liberals as well. There's been people who are liberals who've really irritated me a lot, and I'm thinking I want to distance myself from you. So I'd rather go a little further to the left than, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's bad to go to you don't want to run towards the right if you're getting pissed off by liberals. I'd rather go left. to get away from them.
Yeah, because they always want to hug the right, so why not go to the left instead?
Yeah, yeah. Because I think that's a very big mistake when they're sort of liberals who, because the liberals are not very good at
Are we talking about small L liberals or capital L liberals?
probably the small L liberals, kind of the American version of liberals, kind of like
Well,
BuzzFeed.
to be honest, the small L liberals are still at least center right when you look at them globally.
Yeah, in economically they're really, but in terms of progressivism, because a lot of them are probably in like that real capitalist, that Hillary Clinton sort of feminism. It's a bourgeois sort of feminism, and MTV type of race studies or whatever. It's very much in that liberal place, and the people who get scared away from that or pissed off with that, like some of them go towards the right, which is a really stupid idea. Whereas I prefer to think, okay, I don't like this part, so I think I'd rather jump over that into the left.
Uh, since you aren't an anti-capitalist, why are you using bourgeois as a negative annotation of feminism?
Or it's only some parts like Hillary Clinton, when like some of hers is it's a very bourgeois type thing, whereas it there's some, like when it comes to women's issues, it's probably in the lower classes where it's a problem. Like there are occupations like nursing and teaching where predominantly women are occupying those fields, but they're underpaid. So that's a big part of the I guess the earnings gap comes from a lot of those jobs that are undervalued by society. Whereas some of those upper jobs like CEOs and things like that, I'm not really that worried about what happens, because those
They are
otherwise,
already living in luxury, so what's the matter with them?
yeah, they're already doing well. They're already doing well to be in a to be working in such a big corporation. Whereas the the sort of women who are in the lower earning professions, they're struggling a lot more. So I'm more sympathetic to them.
Yeah. Do you believe that there should be a maximum wage?
No, I don't. I mean, I think there should be minimum wages definitely, but maximum wages, I'm not sure. I don't. No, I don't think that is that a bad thing.
No, not really. But
No,
at most I'm neutral about it, because if you raise the minimum wage enough or abolish capitalism, something is going to be better anyway.
yeah, it's that's the problem with the like libertarianism anyway. Is the like, what is the trickle down? It's like, because they think, okay, let's the
It's
rich
just
can
they
pay
call
less
supply
taxes, so then
side economics, but yeah, it never works.
it's terrible. It doesn't. Yeah, it's just a stupid idea. It doesn't change anything. And
Actually, it does change something. The rich get more.
oh yes, yes,
That's the only reason it exists. Rich people get more money.
yeah. So I'm, because it's kind of a spectrum when someone says there's capitalism on, so ANCAP is a very extreme like right economic, and then on the left is I guess communism is the other extreme, and I'm sort of let's just say that I'm much closer to the socialist side of
Yeah. Would you rather live
capital.
under capital fascism or communism?
I would rather communism, as long as it was the communist, as long as it doesn't get taken over by somebody else, because we've never really seen communism in its full form. Like it starts off with the idea of Marxism, but then like in history, it gets taken over by somebody else, and it goes away from communism, and it turns into a dictatorship. So yeah, no, it's
Actually,
certainly rather.
are you talking about an actual dictatorship or the dictatorship of the proletariat?
Um, more so the dictatorship of because I think in history like Soviet Russia and other places it was didn't see it go into like the proper socialism because it might start with a kind of overthrow, but then afterwards it was like we didn't see it turn into a socialist sort of system. It just turned into a dictatorship.
Actually, that's really debatable about if whether if socialism or not. It still kind of depends on what your view is on what socialism is.
Yeah, it's because in history, I mean, it doesn't really matter what happened. Like, because a lot of people say, "Oh, socialism doesn't work because because of China, because of Russia," but technically it wasn't really socialist. Any of those countries, it was more. I mean, that was the beginning of it. It made a beginning, but it never went to the end. So we haven't actually seen
Yeah,
a socialist country
not to forget.
before.
Wait a sec. Ik ben nog bezig. Yeah. Even if socialism could be formed in actual socialism in your term, yeah, the bourgeoisie wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah, and sometimes the word bourgeois that like I probably use it incorrectly anyway. I mean, because it's
Bourgeois are pretty much the business owners, those who own
yeah,
the
yeah,
means of production.
and it's sometimes used as a colloquial word as well for kind of posh, upper class, snobby kind of people.
Yeah, mostly because it's one of those. E- the bourgeoisie is always seen as the rich upper class. That's why they are also often called the houte bourgeoisie, while the petite bourgeoisie are often seen closer to the proletariat, but still with conflicting interests.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah, so the houte is of course often upper class, while the proletariat is often underclass, low class, or middle class. Sometimes a little bit middle upper class.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of like the like French Revolution. There's some whereas there was part of the middle class, I think, because the middle class was called bourgeois or something. It was had sort of it's a little bit different from the Marxist.
Yeah. Any books
Ugh.
you read recently?
Um, I've been a bit lazy with reading. I know that I should have read a lot more this year, but I've been a bit too lazy or distracted.
Yeah. I feel you, bro.
Oh, okay. I think my voice is starting to I think I'm losing my voice.
Oh, do you want to stop or?
That might be good. Yeah, probably. I think I've got yeah, because I've got the cold, so it was okay, but now it's like I think like now my voice is starting to Get a bit bad.
Okay. Well, now I at least know that I recorded something, so
So is that going to be on your YouTube channel?
yeah, probably.
Oh, okay, cool. So you should try and get into some of the group chats, like with because the groups are quite fun when you got like maybe like 3 or 4 people or so.
Yeah. Just go ask any Twitter group if they want me on their chat.
Yeah. So like if I do a stream, like I'll try and send you a link. So I was going to try and do a stream like on and Matthouse and some left people, just because we had some really bad stuff happen in the bus. There was some really nasty stuff happen. So I think we need to get a stream together with all of the leftists and a bit of a party or something like that, and just talk about anything like music, films, what,
Yeah.
just to try and serve everyone up.
Yeah, okay. Bye.
See ya.